Have you ever felt like a deer in headlights when an investor asked you a question you had no idea how to answer? Our guest knows exactly how you feel, and she's ready to help you deliver the best responses to investor questions and much more. Oh, yeah, it's Fab Female Founder Friday on the Startup Life Live Show. Let's glow, everyone. Woohoo! Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Startup Life Live Show. I'm your host, Ande, Lyons, 4 times founder and startup champion to founders around the world. And after raising 4 businesses of my own, I now love to help newly minted founders do their thing, figure things out. And it's wonderful to do this through the Startup Life Live Show by sharing diverse founder startup stories. And it helps new founders go, oh my gosh, I see it. I can be it. And wow, they went through the same thing that I am going through right now. So you never know when you're going to get a new solution, an idea, an aha moment. So I am thanking you for tuning in to the Startup Life Live Show because you're going to up your game today. And you know, founders, as you do better, your business does better. Now, if you're joining us live, because we're live right now on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, please say hello in the comment threads. And if you're watching via replay, say hello there too. We'd love to see you and learn more about what you're doing. And don't hesitate to throw questions into the comment sections, folks. Live or via replay, we're here to help you maximize the joy and minimize the heartache from your startup journey. And those who are watching live and via replay, please click that like button on your video, on the video, wherever you're watching, because it will go into your stream. And you don't know who is going to find it, tune into it, and be impacted, helped by this conversation today. So I thank you for that. And if you have not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, please click that like button or the subscribe button and the bell icon so you get an alert whenever I post a new show. Let me tell you, this is how you find out when I post a new show because I'm here most Tuesdays and Fridays. Let me just share my little handy dandy meetup visual for you. This is the Startup Life Live meetup group, and I post a new show there. You'll receive an alert, and there might be just the right person for you to tune in and learn more from on the show. How wonderful is that? And if you resonate with the show's mission of amplifying diverse founder voices while serving first-time founders around the world, please reach out to me to learn more about how you can make a greater impact on the startup ecosystem through sponsoring the Startup Life Live Show. You can always find me, Ande, at andelyons.com. All right. I am so excited to introduce the guest today, the Fab Female Founder. Let me get another piece of artwork pulled up here so I can read you her background. It's the remarkable Renata Merino, a 25-year operator, former investment banker, and Chicago Booth MBA merit scholar. Renata is a Latina serial entrepreneur turned investor and venture capitalist. She relishes in helping founders scale and has been featured in the media on women empowerment, diversity and venture, and power of networking and building community. A single mom of 2 children, you can find Renata motivating the world via her early morning Instagram videos, where she often shares her powerful stories of overcoming adversity. And she does a lot of dancing too, which I love joining her with. Woo-hoo. Let's welcome to the show, Renata Merino. Thank you for joining us on the Startup Life Live Show.
Thank you so much, Ande. You're the best. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited that you could join me. You know better than anybody that the founderhood journey is so hard. We need to lighten it up. We need to laugh. We need to, talk about the tough times and hashtag the struggle is real, but at the same time, infuse it with joy, infuse it with enthusiasm and passion for the journey. And I love that you and I met at a favorite startup week that we have here in Boston that's had to be virtual for the last 2 years, called Startup Boston Week. And I always make sure I'm saying that correctly. And we were on a panel, and I loved meeting you. I loved your energy, and I loved the advice that you brought to founders through the Pitch Perfect panel that we were on.
It was great. I love supporting my hometown of Boston, and I want to be more involved in supporting the startup community in Boston to support all the founders in Boston. So the more involved I can get, and hopefully I think I'm going to also be part of Techstars Boston too, which was another. Yeah, so I'm really excited. But yeah, I loved meeting you, and I just want to be able to give back to my hometown as much as I can.
It's great. And of course, we are around the world here at the Startup Life Live show, which, everything you'll be saying today will have an impact, not just today, but evergreen. So I'm so grateful you came in. I just want to remind everybody, be sure to amplify your brand. Share your business name, one-liner, and website URL in the comments, and we will showcase and get the clappers out, celebrate you and your wonderful work live, okay? So, folks, don't forget to do that. So talk about how you landed in Boston before you moved on, a little bit about your background.
Sure. So I'm originally from Boston. I live in Chicago now, and I'm Latina. My dad's Mexican. He came to this country in the 70s as a doctor. He got his medical degree, married my mom, who's a nurse. They settled in Boston. I lived in Mexico City for a little, but I can't remember much because I was a toddler, but then moved to Mexico City where my dad opened up a practice. So I originally have roots in the medical field, although I was not a doctor. But my parents built their wealth as an immigrant family. And as you probably know, back in the day, I don't know how long you've been in Boston, but it's a very white, Irish, Catholic town. And so back in the,
very
in the
segregated.
70s, yeah, very, very. And in the 70s and 80s, there weren't a lot of Latin people. So we were one of 3 Latin families.
Oh, you couldn't even get any Latin products on the grocery shelves.
Exactly.
Also, what?
Yeah. So but that's okay. I mean, I still maintain my cultural roots. I'll have 90% of my family's in Mexico City. So we did visit and did a lot of, it was important for my parents to allow us to maintain our cultural traditions.
I love that.
Yes.
So, so you came in, where'd you go? Like, did you go to school around here as well? And then start launching?
Yeah. So I grew up playing sports. I was a student athlete. My dad played soccer barefoot in Mexico. And he's like, even though I don't have sons, I'm going to have my 3 daughters play soccer. So we were very active, very involved. My parents believed that education for women is very important for career success and independence. And so they poured all their wealth into their 3 daughters. So I was very fortunate to go to a private school. It's a Sacred Heart Newton Country Day School, which is right on Newton Street in Newton.
It's a phenomenal school.
Yeah. So 7th grade to 12th grade, very into girl power. I was president of my high school. My sisters and I were pretty big names at Sacred Heart. And so I was fortunate to be able to have that opportunity to go there, and then left and went to Bowdoin College, which is in Maine. Again, East Coast school, one of the top liberal arts colleges. Again, student athlete, really, really fortunate. I'm lucky I went there. I think Bowdoin is a really good institution. It teaches a lot about community and
very progressive.
Very progressive. I was very fortunate. And then left and worked at State Street Capital, which is now, at the time, it was right on Federal Street.
Yes, I remember. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I was in asset-backed securitization, so investment banking, and I knew nothing about finance. So early in my 20s, I got some great experience. I took night classes at Harvard Extension School. I really learned about off-balance sheet financing, understanding numbers. I mean, I think early in your career to know that, especially coming from a liberal arts education, it was hard, but I was 2 women out of a team of 30.
Yeah.
Not a lot of women.
And State Street, you have to know, was just old Brahmin money vibe. And, I'm not sure when you went through State Street. I mean, it's really progressed. Yeah. So, it's really progressed in the last 10 years. There's a lot of women kicking ass over there right now. But before, in the early days, I'm telling you, and of course, I don't know if, you're young enough to remember, but in those days, folks, here in Boston, when you were in banking, you could not wear pants to work. Can you imagine that?
Right? No, it was very, and it's interesting because now in my career, I'm talking to a lot of women who are older than I am, baby boomer women who worked in banking, investment banking in New York. Same thing.
lot of constrictions, but I love that you did that. You know, when I earned my MBA, I did some fancy footwork to get picked up by Bank of New England, may it rest in peace, in their commercial lending, not because I was a fit, folks. I mean, I barely made it to 3 years, and it was a very combative ending when I left, but it was because for the same thing, Renata, I knew that my background did not have the structured financial learning. I wanted to crunch the numbers on every industry and really understand how all these companies worked and what they needed for money, and just also to think like a banker.
Exactly. And I think that being me growing up with parents who said, I think my mother says this all the time. She still says it: death or divorce, get your MBA. I mean, really invest in your education, because you need to be able to have the education to be able to support yourself. If you have kids one day, support yourself. Right. So that's always kind of been in the back of my head.
Thank you, Mom.
Thank my mom. And so I think what I did after banking, I knew that I didn't want to stay in banking. It wasn't creative enough for me. So I actually left State Street in '99 and went and worked for the CEO of Reebok. So I've always been an athlete, and I'm like, you know what? I need to work for a company. Instead of in the services sector, I wanted to actually get inside a company. So I networked with my tennis connections, because I played tennis my whole life since I was like 5 years old, competitively. I networked my way to Reebok using a connection and worked for the CEO in tech. And back then they called it .com. Right. They didn't call it tech. So I actually worked for Carl Yankowski. He is a turnaround CEO. He used to work for 3M. He actually lived down the street with my parents, and he ended up becoming the CEO. And my eyes were open to a world of tech and innovation in '99.
I love that. My granola was carried at Reebok, by the way. Reebok is right south of Boston, everybody. We're so lucky to have these amazing businesses. And I love that you went in and you got this serious, large, big brand marketing and product development exposure and experience, which is so important to understand. I don't care if it's something simple like my Divinely Delicious granola business or something very complicated, medical device company. You really have to understand, right, the whole development process, the innovation process, and all the things that can get in the way of innovation.
Yeah. And that was an exciting project. I was brought on to do an online footwear customization project. So you would be able to go to I don't know, think of a fit like a Dick's or some kind of place where you would buy a new pair of tennis shoes or running shoes. You go to the back of the store, you'd get your foot scanned and you put your feet in this little box. You get your foot scanned. It's tied to a kiosk. Back then they didn't have iPads, they didn't have phones. They basically was a kiosk. You would be able to not only have a form-fitted shoe shipped to your house 2 weeks later, but you would also be able to customize the colors. You could put your name on the shoe. And that's something
so powerful that Reebok did.
Cool. It was so cool.
It was so cool. And folks, don't you love it when you hear somebody say, we didn't have phones? Like literally. It's like, why were you in the dark? My son is always saying, "What were you back when you were driving the T model or whatever?" It's just, oh gosh.
My kids always say, "Mom, is this an '80s song?" I'm like, "Yes, it is," and I love it. They're like, "You're a dinosaur." I'm like, "I love the '80s."
I just want to say a quick hello. Allison Byers, thank you for swinging by, saying excited to hear this chat between two female founder champions. Allison Byers, what you are doing with Scroobius, I have to tell you, I need to do a shout out. Everybody, go check out Scroobius. Go and work with Allison and her team. She helps you create a video pitch, founders, okay? A video pitch, because we're going to get deeper into why relationship building is so important with investors. And if you can share who you be so they get a good feel, and you don't have to be like wildly entertaining. That may not be in alignment with the right investor with you. They may, however you vibe, you will align with that person. And Allison, I love what you're doing at Scroobius. Thank you for being a fab female founder, celebrating you. And Jeanette, oh my gosh, mother of 5, Renata. Hi, Jeanette. So happy to see you. She's here from Virginia. And she's had several businesses while she's raising her babies, because the same thing. I don't know, Jeanette, was it your mom who said you got to be independent, go build some businesses? So she has created great businesses. She's going to be on the show later in November. And then Melissa. Oh my gosh, Lorenzo Harvey. She is the founder of Pirouette New York City. Now, this is a woman who's raising two incredible kids, is a full-time attorney, but hey, came up with this idea for an incredible dress for women and other designs. It's a fashion brand called Pirouette NYC, and she is doing remarkable things. I know it's only been a couple of years, Melissa, but you are rocking it out there. And I celebrate you, Jennifer and Allison, 100%, you fab female founders. Thanks so much for tuning in live. So back to the journey of going, because then you went from Reebok to Nestle. Did you have to go down to Pennsylvania for that?
So I went to business school. I applied to Booth,
Great.
and I was fortunate enough to be accepted to the full-time program. And part of the 2-year, and as you probably already know, in between, when you're full-time, between the first year and second year, you get an internship. So I was fortunate to, and that was during 2001, where the economy wasn't doing so well. So I was very fortunate to get a job, an internship at Nestle outside of LA, and working in Hispanic marketing or Latinx marketing. So it was a 3-month project. It was learning about the CPG business. So I had not been in the confections industry. So it was really interesting. I ate a lot of candy during that summer. Actually, when you walk in, well, I don't know if the headquarters is there anymore, but when you walked in, oh my God, in the garage where you park your car and you go into corporate, they had a little store with like discounted candy. And I think I had a terrible bill from my dentist that summer because I was ordering Willy Wonka, Spree,
Nestle Crunch.
Yes.
This is what I grew up on. It's just, yeah. And folks, you just don't understand how difficult food is until you're in it. And I always said, oh, had I known, I would have just checked myself into the Betty Ford clinic instead of launching the food.
Yeah. So I learned a lot about, I was doing the brand management side. So I had to reposition the 100 grand candy bar to the Latinx market. So I went into the Latinx grocery stores deep in the heart of LA. It was really interesting because I'm fluent in Spanish. So I was interviewing moms, interviewing people purchasing products. And what I found actually at that time, it was in the early 2000s, was a lot of, I would talk to a mom or a consumer in the grocery store in Spanish, and I would say, why are you buying a brand that's not an American brand? Why are you buying a brand that's from, Colombia or from South America versus buying Gain versus buying I don't know, like a current dishwashing brand or whatever. So I learned a lot about culturated versus unacculturated Latinx people, in terms of some people who've been here longer would buy American brand, whereas some people who just came here last year are more comfortable buying the brands they're used to. So I did a lot of market research.
Nice.
And I think as a founder, I think it's important to do some of that qualitative research that really get into who's buying your product, what are the competitive products, what are the insights into some of these consumer behavior. So I think that was a good grounding for me in terms of my founder journey.
Yeah, I can see that completely. And folks, it's great. Sometimes you fall into the entrepreneur role and you become unhireable, like me, unemployable. But, when you can get into those larger companies and get that experience, see how the big systems work and the big procedures, it really does prepare you not only for your own micro experience, but it helps you understand that next enterprise stage you're going to have to go into, and who are the players that are going to help you grow. So I love that you grabbed all this experience, but was it in the back of your head to become an entrepreneur? Your parents had really incredible careers in the medical world where they were educated and then went into their area of expertise. What was it, a life event? What happened?
Okay, that's a really good. So again, we build on our experiences, right? And we kind of go with, I think the number one thing for all the fellow entrepreneurs that, how am I going to get into entrepreneurship or whatever is go with your gut, go with what your passion. So I knew innovation was something I loved. I love solving problems. I love helping people. And I love, that was a 3-month internship. So I left and went and worked in corporate in Fortune 500 companies doing new product development, innovation in the early 2000s, 2002, started around 2002. So I worked for Fortune brands That was my first job. And I worked in products, developing products for moms and kids, targeting our customers were Walmart, Target, grocery stores, Office Depot, Office Days. So we were building products that helped manage how moms would manage their kids. So for example, if you're in the kitchen and you're a mom and you're like, you have to cook dinner, you have to get the kids ready for school, you have to figure out who has soccer practice, and I've got 4 kids.
And don't forget laundry.
Yeah, and the laundry, like what's the to-do list? Where's the calendar? I mean, how many of us female women who have kids and even who don't have kids, you've got a calendar. You're on your phone. Back then they were using calendars that are on the refrigerator. So we were trying to innovate. The company Fortune Brands, when I was working for ACO, it's the office products division, we were trying to innovate about helping moms manage their life, their kids. So we hired a market research firm. We went into homes. We did a lot of observation. And this is figuring out, we would take notes and say like, okay, this mom seems stressed out. She's got a lot going on. And so we would take notes. The market research firm that we hired would also take notes. They do videos. And how we would do is we would innovate. We'd see the videos. We'd talk to the market research firm, and we would innovate around solutions to helping these moms organize their life. And so that's how innovation happened inside corporate.
Right. It's perfect. And so, and the beauty of all this, folks, is, the common thread that we've heard from Renata so far is spend the time on that market research. It is invaluable. It will give you even more aha moments for your innovation. It might help you tweak and redirect your innovation. And if that takes 6, 9, 12 months, you do it. It's okay. Nobody's going to steal your idea. I promise you.
Yeah, I think that, and then even if you already have an idea, it's always good to go back. When I work with founders now and they have a pool of 50 women or 50 consumers and they've already have their idea, like this one woman who has a food product, and you tweak the recipe, go back and have your women or your target audience, the ones who love you and support you. I call them like brand ambassadors, have them try the product and say, I don't know if I like that orange flavor. I don't know if I like, always iterate, always refine and iterate. It's never a done deal once you come up with the aha. You always need to iterate and make it even better.
Excellent advice for everyone. So what was the aha moment for you that said, told you to go leave paycheck, a steady paycheck and benefits behind?
Okay, yeah. So this is what happened, guys. And unfortunately, I think this is interesting. A lot of life lessons impact your career decisions. And at the time I was working for Life Fitness, I was doing the same thing. I was leading global P&L teams, traveling all over the world, doing innovation for the fitness industry. I'm a big health nut and I'm an athlete. And so I was doing all the touchscreen technology, all the tech for all the products at Life Fitness, the ones that we work out at the gym. And so, and not to throw them under the bus, but at the time, there wasn't a lot of flexibility for female executive back in the 2000s, early 2000s.
Like anything's really changed?
I mean, I don't know, because I haven't been in the game. I haven't been in corporate. But it's my goal in life to help women who are in corporate with more flexibility as new moms. So I became a new mom. And I was really struggling with, my mom had stayed home for 10 years, raising my sisters and I, and then went back and worked as a nurse for my dad once we were in school full time. So she had more time to actually focus on her career rather than, because we were in school from 8, 9 to 3. And so she would work during those hours. So as a new mom, when you're raising your kid, do you want someone else raising your kid? Do you want a nanny raising your kid? Do you want a babysitter raising your kid? And I was really struggling that personally, because my mom really was with us when we were little babies. And I think there's value in seeing going to your kids' swimming lessons, I really do. And I think I struggled as a Gen Xer, and unfortunately, my company didn't offer flexibility for first-time moms then. And so I really didn't want to travel to China. I didn't want to go to the UK. And I was breastfeeding. So I struggled with, I even did a PowerPoint presentation to my team, the all-male executive team. I think the only woman was an HR woman. And I said, listen, can I have my associate travel just for the next 6 months, the next year? I love my job. I love innovation. I love this team. I love my product team. But they weren't supporting it. And again, things are different at the company now. But I think back then it wasn't a good fit for me. So I decided to leave corporate. And so it was a life decision. And quite honestly, that's when I shifted into entrepreneurship.
And because what happened? You were at home and you got bored? Because, let me tell you, when you're home with little kids, a lot of times it can be overwhelming and mind numbing.
This is what happened to me. I actually, in Chicago, I was living in Chicago. I joined this mom's group. You can actually filter by zip code and filter by background. So I only wanted to hang out with first-time moms who were in corporate. They were either lawyers, they were either doctors, or they were like executives like myself, because I needed to be with other women that get it, that understand the struggle between wanting, investing your entire life into your education and wanting to have a career, but also struggled with wanting to be present with your child. Right. And so we had a lot of discussions. It was like a mini market research group. And this is so interesting. The first wasn't really entrepreneurship, but I kept moving my way down to entrepreneurship. I took a step down and worked in a smaller company, a private company. So I've been working in public, and my move before entrepreneurship was a private company. I said to one of the moms, I really, really want to do innovation and new product development for toys. Does anybody know anybody in the toy business? Because I'm a mom and my child is playing with toys. So how can I do new product development and innovation in the toy manufacturing business? And one of the moms like, hey, I go to church with Robert Payson. He's the CEO of Radio Flyer. And if anybody knows what the little red wagon is, it's pretty famous. It's been around. Yeah. That's from Radio Flyer. And Robert's the CEO. So
on ET, right? Isn't that, on ET and other, love Radio Flyer.
I had my friend hand deliver my resume at church to Robert Payson.
Come on. That is so exciting. So you got to meet him and you got to,
I got a job. He hired me. He says he wanted a mom. He wants someone, and he wanted me to do market research to expand the scooter line. So there's the ride-on scooter. So what I did is I had my daughter. I would take her to the playground. I'd put her in the swing. I'd push her on the swing. I'd interview. I'd recruit my mom friends with their little their toddler kids, and I would give the scooter. That was the prize. Is like, if you did this market research, I'm going to give away like 20 scooters.
Right.
And I would videotape, with their permission, of course, and interview the mom and see how the kids interact with the scooter. And I was able to help Robert and Radio Flyer expand their scooter line to drive more revenue, to drive more innovation, just from, again, that very tight, low budget. I think I had $10,000 or something to do this project, to expand. And it was one of the best. And again, I could still be with my daughter. So think about this. You're a mom. You want to be with your kid, but you also want to be able to
use that beautiful brain of yours and be fulfilled and be a role model to your kids, that you can be nurturing as a mom and be there for them when it's important. And at the same time, you're there to show them the morning sun. They got the whole rest of the day they're going to be doing on their own. So it's a tough decision for many. And Allison is here to say, she had a very similar experience as a new mom in a male-dominated tech company.
Oh my God.
And that's why she turned to entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Moms make incredible founders. Yes. So important for others to hear Renata's story about this.
I want to share. I can't wait to share this to everyone. I think it's really important. And there's actually, I want to shout out to the Mom Project. Allison is another Allison. That's her first name. She launched a company for women who are returning to work, who maybe stepped full-time out of the workplace. And she has created a dual-sided marketplace that has significant VC funding, and they're expanding nationally to help women return to work. And so a lot of these companies, whether it's a startup or potentially a corporate, are looking for really seasoned women who want to jump right back in. So definitely check out the Mom Project.
Absolutely. The Mom Project, and also Bulo Solutions. We had the founder on the show, same thing, helping moms who want to return to maybe 20 hours a week.
Yes.
30 hours a week, and have the ability to work remotely, which, Renata, I think we can all say, and Allison and everyone tuning in, the silver lining of the pandemic is all of a sudden companies are like, oh yeah, you can get that done at home, and you got the 3 kids there. I get it now.
And let's put it this way. Prior to the pandemic, when I was trying to do all this at home, I would just put it on mute. I get on the phone. My kids I try to do calls during and this is the journey from Radio Flyer to entrepreneurship. So I left Radio Flyer, was a project based only. And I, at the same time of doing Radio Flyer, I was also working part-time for a company. It's a startup called Veritas Prep. They do MBA admissions consulting. And I was primarily focused on US. And since I had the Spanish and I had the international exposure, I decided to launch my own MBA admissions consulting business called Strategic Prep, helping international students. So
much better name, by the way, than the Veritas. That's like bingo.
Yeah. So I had been on the side for fun because I like helping people with their career development. I was on the Bowdoin admissions team, helping Bowdoin students get into Bowdoin. And I also worked for DSAC, which is the Students Admissions Council at Booth, reading hundreds of applications as a student. And so I had this knack of writing essays and writing people's resumes. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to create my first startup. So that's what I did. I launched Strategic Prep. I left Radio Flyer because I was like, I can do this on my own. And I built the website. It was really kind of rudimentary, nothing gorgeous, like basic.
Nice. You built it?
I learned Google AdWords. I taught myself Google AdWords. I marketed myself and basically got clients and got them placed in top business schools. And I went around to the different business schools and understood like what kind of students do they want? Like, what are their core competencies? And really looking at like matching the student with the right school. And that was early, and that was when I had babies. I mean, that was when I had my daughter.
And so that's beautiful. And it also built even more on your innate gift, which is that matching. And so was that completely bootstrapped, that business?
That was bootstrap. I didn't get any outside funding. I did it all my own. And this is what's interesting as a mom. And this is kind of goes back to working when the kids are sleeping. And this is what I did. And the thing of it is, I literally and this is the thing. I had to come up with a business that I can do while the kids are sleeping. The thing about prospective MBAs is they're working in corporate typically, okay? Or they're working during 9 to 5. This is what I would do. They're only allowed to talk to the prospective MBAs, the people working in corporate don't want to tell their employer that they're applying to business school because they're going to leave the job. So the only time they can talk to you is at night. So when I put my kids to sleep, I can get on the phone call. I work from 7 p.m. to midnight talking to clients. So I'd be a mom during the day. And when my kids were sleeping during the day, and they had their 2 naps, that's when I would work on essays. I would work on the resume. I mean, I would work on, and literally. So this is why women, mom entrepreneurs are awesome, because we get it done.
Right.
We get it done.
I'm having an Andelicious moment, everybody. For so many reasons. I mean, everything you just said. First of all, coming up with a business idea that fit what your life needed, which is the ability to work at night. Your target audience, are all people who only want to talk after the time of 5. And of course, getting the other work done that you needed to do, which was a talent, being able to write those essays when the kids were napping. Of course, I used to always say, Renata, I wish my kids would sign in how long their nap was going to be that day, right? Are you going to be napping for an hour or 3 hours today? Because I could be doing something really big if I knew it was going to be 3 hours.
And I think, you know what? This is the thing that I try to say to LPs, or I say to investors, or that are men, is women get it done, especially when you're moms, because we have to. For some reason with society and what the pressure, and unfortunately, I actually did and I could talk about my current startup, but Blazing Babes, it's a women's networking company, and we focus on female founders. We did an event years ago when we first launched, and the title of the event was Managing It All. And it was a panel of women who were founders, who were executives, and we basically featured them, and they talked about how, as we moved up in our life, we're first in college, then we have a boyfriend, then we get married. So you're responsible for your workout, your fitness, your health, your career. Then you get married, then you have to deal with the husband and his stuff, and you have to it's you and him. Then the kids come on the scene. That's another responsibility. You know what I'm saying? So it's the kids, and who's taking them to soccer practice? Who's making the lunches? Who's organizing the Disney trips? Who's doing all this?
Who's getting into their annual physical?
Who is? The guy? I don't know. I mean, maybe the millennial dudes are now, but back during the Gen X.
Oh, no. And Gloria Steinem always said, when men know exactly when the soccer practices, not even the game, the practice, and are showing up, then that's when we're going to have equality.
And I'm not throwing the guys under the bus. I think
No, not at all.
I personally think that, and it's a conversation when you are with a partner, male or female, whatever, that let's split the at-home unpaid labor task, because it's going to affect my startup. Can I go out for drinks with the guys after work, or do I have to go home and make dinner? Because no. You're not going to get that promotion at work unless you go out for drinks with the guys.
Exactly. So I'm just going to say right now, another thing that you said that I have to do this with, which is really, it's stitch that on a pillow. Women get it done.
Women get it done. So getting back to kind of my journey and my entrepreneurship journey. So I launched that. I learned a lot. I actually is a very lucrative business, probably made more money than I did, but I loved working with women. So I loved working with helping women with their career development. So at the time when I was kind of figuring out what's my next gig, there was a book that came out called The Stiletto Network. It's written by a friend of mine, Pamela Rickman, and she talks about these this was 2011, 2012, all these little tiny dinner groups popping up all around the US where women were helping other women. It didn't matter what industry, it didn't matter if, it was dinner groups, cocktail hours, whatever it was, but just women helping women, being like, you need a web person, let me help you. You need this, let me help you. And she called them stiletto networks. I've always been a big networker. And so I'm like, you know what? There needs to be a stiletto network in Chicago. And so I decided to launch a stiletto network called Blazin' Babes. And the premise is we wanted to be edgy and cool and sexy, and not conservative. So I always grew up in a very conservative environment. And I'm personally believe that women should embrace call it the feminine feminism. So you should be able to wear the stilettos. You should be able to wear the sexy outfits. You can still be professional and look beautiful and hot. You don't have to dress like a guy. You don't have to act like a guy. You can still act like a beautiful feminine feminism and still be professional. So that's kind of the premise of who we are. And so I launched that in 2000. I wrote the business plan in 2013, launched in 2014. And since then, prior to COVID, we were like 80% face-to-face events. So we would do
nice. Oh, that had to have been so much fun.
Oh my God. And guess what? We did them after hours, after you put the kids to bed. You want to grab a cocktail, you want to get dressed up, let's meet at this shop. And the shop owners would say discount for all the women at the event. And we also tied it to charity. So we're a for-profit.
I would have been there in a heartbeat.
Oh, and we tied it to charity. So we always made sure we gave back. And so, and that's kind of who we are. We're a B Corp, which is a for-profit.
And that's a whole nother conversation, folks. When you become a benefit corp, you really have hoops and hurdles that you have to prove that you are benefiting society.
Yes.
With that corporate foundation or formation. Yes. Let me just say a quick hello to a Latina goddess, Angelina Sanchez. Women rock, they do. And Angela, when are you going to come on the show? You've got an exciting new app that you're helping get more women hired for construction deals. Okay, so I have to just brag on Angela for a second. Okay. Renata, she's a civil engineer.
Wow.
She's got 3 beautiful babes herself, goddesses in training, and she launched a jewelry company called Artifactos. And the jewelry, this is one of the rings. It's all sustainable jewelry from women in Colombia who grab, this is a nut or a seed, a pit that's turned into a ring, but she does it for earrings with lime and orange peel. I mean, coffee beans, things that take hundreds of years to decompose. Ooh. And so she's helping the Colombian women and the female economy there while, bringing in gorgeous jewelry. Everybody, I'm just going to put the links into the show because, thank you, Angela. It's a nut. Thank you.
She should be a B Corp. That would be perfect.
Yeah, well, she's had great success, but now she's launching another one. Angela, you should put some of the information in so I can pull it up on the screen about your new business. But as she said, tell me about it for women working in construction. I always like to dress up.
Yes.
I love it.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
And that's what I actually posted on my Instagram this morning. I feel like, especially during the pandemic, for mental health, male or female, but let's just talk female. Sometimes guys, like ladies, you have to every morning, even though you're going to be stuck at home working, there's nothing better than working out, getting dressed up, looking fabulous for yourself. When you're getting on the Zoom calls, you feel fabulous. Your attitude's fabulous. It helps with mental health. And I'm a big proponent for taking care of your health, whether it's beauty, whether it's your physical. I just think it adds a lot of, it just helps a lot when you really put yourself first and take care of yourself.
100%. It's all about get up and dress up in my world. Yes, I have the show, but every day because, and I've been an entrepreneur for forever. So it was so important to embody that side. It's so easy to stay in the sweats and jammies. I get it, but it doesn't help you when you're doing business, even if you're doing it out of like the laundry room, for crying out loud, right?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes. So anyway, so my journey, sorry, I didn't want to, so the journey for Blazing Babes, it's been amazing because what we've done for so many women who've launched businesses is we've promoted them. We've kind of what you're doing, Andy, with this is we were promoting them through the media, through press. If you Google, we've done a lot of events highlighting women who've launched spin studios, who've launched high-end flower shops. I mean, amazing, amazing women. And it's all about helping them scale their business. So it's been so wonderful. And at the same time, giving back to Bright Pink, Dress for Success, where other, again, women, underserved women that need the help and they're not in the situation we're in. And so we've always felt like we have the means and our members actually have the means to give back to those who don't have those kind of
I love it. And when you go to Blazing Babes, and that's without a G at the end of Blazing, right?
Right.
You'll see photos and you'll be like,
yeah,
if
you go to my actual personal site, renatamerino.com,
mm-hmm.
there's a section on community and it will show a bunch of beautiful pictures. And then
so
blazingbabes.org is our community of women. And you'll be able to look at our blog and some of the other events.
So good and so empowering. # women empowering women. So good. And Angela, thank you for sharing your newest invention and innovation.
Oh, cool.
Merge Tech is a 4-fold marketplace connecting construction stakeholders through an easy-to-use mobile app.
Love that.
You're amazing, Angela, mom of 3. Okay. Working it and making it happen. So let's go into the investor because it's so much fun talking about your background.
Sure.
And hi, Marie. Just a quick hello before we get in there. Hi, Marie Meslin, Executive Director of the Capital Network, which we love, something fierce. Anyway, let's talk about how it was for you to raise money,
sure,
Renata, because you were there not as only as a woman, but as a Latina, and you had to jump even more hoops because the representation just wasn't there. Right. Talk a little bit about that, and let's talk about how you transitioned into an investor.
Sure. So I think, I did not get outside funding for my startup. And I talked to a lot of different people just because I had a lot of closed doors. And I think that was the impetus for me wanting to move to the venture side, because not only did my members, my female founders that I was trying to support and promote, they had those roadblocks as women. I had the roadblocks as well. And so, my advice and kind of that's my impetus for wanting to now get on the investor side and actually start investing in women. Because there's really a lack of access to capital for female and minority. And I feel like as a female and a minority where I have like a double whammy. And so one of the things we can talk about, and I don't know if you want to steer the conversation, is what to do, is how to find the right investor. And if I had to go back, how would I do it differently?
Right. And because you're all about building those authentic relationships, starting early, could be called stalking, but it isn't. You're just starting to just be always there and they hear about you, but you're not approaching them yet. You're giving them a little taste.
Yeah, you have that. I think and so now on the other side, I've been advising founders, female and male, for, the past 4 years, and really kind of helping them scale. And I've kind of known in the media for networking, like kind of an expert networker. I've been featured a lot. And the way I approach it is it's about paying it forward. And it's about developing relationships. The word networking is kind of a bad word. I don't know, it has like a negative rap to it. I wish it was more like relationship building. And so I feel like when you meet someone, you really, first of all, you should do your research. You should understand if you're about to raise money or you're looking for money to fund your business, you need to do your research, whether it's a venture capital company, a firm, or a private investor. You need to understand, where have they invested in? What do they love to do? You could Google them. You can look on LinkedIn, and you really should do your homework. When I get cold emails or cold messages from founders, I really don't even pay attention. I'm going to give you one really good example of a woman that approached me through LinkedIn. She didn't even have a warm introduction. She didn't know anybody. This was one of the best ways because she did her research on me. She's from Russia. She was in the Israeli army, and she had a product, and it was in my wheelhouse, in the fitness and health and wellness sector. She researched me tooth and nail. She discovered that it was all about girl power. She knew where I worked. She knew kind of my network. And her first sentence through LinkedIn, those messengers, was, hey, I see that you're all about girl power. I've experienced some of the similar injustices that you experienced during your career. I would love to be able to talk to you about my product. It's related to the area of your interest in fitness. I couldn't wait to talk to her.
Brilliant. Because she also, I feel, approached you as a peer.
Yes.
So often we look at the investors like, I'm not worthy. No. You're there to match up with these folks. So the fact that she did the research, she knew what you had an appetite for, what made your heart sing, and just got your whole vibe. She was able to do that one-liner right in the beginning to entice you and excite you for like, yeah, I'd love to learn more. What?
And she's a badass, and she's awesome. And so again, like, I think going the extra mile, doing the research, and let's put it this way. I think, Andy, you and I talked about this before. It's like a marriage. Whoever you're at getting your check from, I mean, they're on your cap table. They're going to have a say in where you take the company. And so you want to make sure you're mirroring the right person. You need to start dating first.
Right. And I have a great link for folks for questions for investors. What size is your check? Can I talk to other people you've invested in and see how that's going? What's the turnaround process? These are really important things that make you a better buyer of money, right?
Yeah. And now I'm on the investing side. So I actually appreciate when someone says, like, can I talk to someone else who invests? That means they care. And so it makes me pay attention. And so I think, when I was a founder and I didn't have this savviness that I have now, because I'm on the other side of the fence, and I just kind of, now I see what founders are going through. I was very naive. I think I was very desperate for the check, and I didn't even care about who it's coming from, because I was like, I need to scale this business. And I think when you get into that desperation mode, that's when things go downhill. So I always say to founders, it takes at least a year or more to develop those relationships. So you got to give yourself a year or more to start doing the research, creating your Excel spreadsheet or your HubSpot, database that have all the people that you want to start developing relationships with. Would you be willing to have coffee with me? Can we do a face-to-face? Can you get on a Zoom call? Like, I'll be willing to fly out to wherever you are just to have coffee.
That works. I love it.
You want to differentiate yourself, go the extra mile.
Absolutely. And folks, don't forget social media. Go and find out what is, again, making their heart sing, and just start sharing their content, sharing their wins, sharing their stories, sharing their this. Trust me, it's one of my favorite stories. If I can just take a quick second, was that I did that with Arlen Hamilton. And so that when she came to Inbound in Boston, and I was there where she was going to be walking from the green room to the stage, she's like, hey, Andy Lyons. And I was like, yes, so she knew, and I was able to participate in her book launch as well. But, that was because of my constantly commenting and sharing. Yes. And that reciprocity happens, and it can work for investors, folks. Yes, Renata?
Yes. And the other thing is, I think it's so important to have shared values. I'm a big proponent of having shared values with the people who you want on your cap table. And that's why it takes time. I'm going to throw this name out. And he's probably gonna be like rolling his eyes, and he's not an investor or anything, but I would love to like hang out with him and go do an ultra marathon with him. I'm obsessed with Jesse Itzler. So I've been following Sarah Blakely, and congratulations, Sarah, of selling her portion of her company Spanx to Blackstone. But basically, I was following Sarah because she's all about girl power, and she's actually, for Blazing Babes, I consider her like a brand persona. Yeah. I view her. And anyway, I was like, I saw some video of her and her husband on stage, and I'm like, who is her husband? I'm so curious. So when I heard him talk, I'm like, I'm obsessed with Jesse Itzler. He's the founder of Marquis Jet. He sold it to, I forgot who he sold it to, but he made a lot of money, whatever. Now he invests. And he's all about health, wellness, fitness. He's a crazy athlete. He's competitive like me. He's very outgoing. And I love Sarah, but I totally resonate with Jesse because he's kind of a badass and he's kind of like athletic. And so I follow him everywhere and I see
he's got the vibe that you love.
He's my vibe guy.
Yeah.
And so again, if you like what Andy said, you need to follow people on their social media and make comments. You just never know. And, you just never know who's going to end up wanting to invest in you or, even just making an introduction for you.
Right. And so now when we get caught as deer in headlights with questions, and again, I've got a great link, folks. I'll put it in the show notes for a list of 25 of the biggest questions that are going to be asked so you can be prepared, because sometimes red flags will happen. When someone is stuck going, what is your advice? What have you seen that's worked? What have you seen that doesn't work?
Totally. And so this is really important for all the first-time founders primarily is you got to get your pitch down. And one of the things I always, as an investor now, it's so hard for me when I see a deck and I'm like, oh, it needs so much work. And they may have a really good idea and they may have some traction, but there's missing components that are not in there. And some people don't know how to build a deck. And it's what I suggest is get yourself in incubators or accelerator programs. If they're free, if you don't have to give away equity, but I really think that like honing the pitch, when I say the pitch, you need to have a 1-minute pitch, you have to have a 30-second pitch, you have to have a 10-minute pitch, you have to have all these different pitches, and you have to know the audience. Like I was just saying to Andy before, like if you're in the grocery store, I don't care if you're a guy, I don't care if you're a girl, I don't care what you're doing. It's like you're in your sweats, you just came from the gym, you look like sweaty and disgusting. You don't know who's in front or behind you. What if you find out they're like the CEO of Walmart? I mean, you just don't know. You don't know. Or maybe they're like a salesperson and you've got this food product or you've got this technology. Like, what I just overheard, you work at Walmart. Like, I have this product. You have to know, you have to have different types of pitches for different audiences. And you have to be able to pull those whenever you need them. And so I think the best practice is practice makes perfect, is joining and being part of different accelerators and incubators in your area on Zoom or whatever. So you can, like the Startup Boston, like you got to constantly be pitching. And if people are willing to give you time and feedback for free, take it. And by the way, this is the one thing as an entrepreneur that it's very disheartening. When somebody's giving you feedback, it's so depressing because you're like, I've been working on this forever. Why are they picking and prodding and poking? It is the investor's job to find any hole in your business model, okay? And you need to do this. You need to do two things. You need to take their advice with a grain of salt. You have to understand where they come from, okay? You need to sit back, breathe, take it in, assess whether or not you're going to change or do whatever, and you're the ultimate founder, so you make the decision. The other thing that you need to do is, because it's very depressing, it's a very lonely journey, you need to find yourself a community of other fellow founders so you can get the support that you need so you guys can actually hang out online or physically and to be able to like vent. Okay. It's so important because you can, even if they're, I was part of a group in Chicago called 1871. Chicago was part of the Latinx cohort 2 in summer 2017. It was the best thing for my psyche and the best thing for my mental health is to be in a room of 12 other founders, especially Latin, female and male, and getting every Wednesday from 9 to 5, I would hang with them. We would have VCs come and talk to us. We would learn how to scale our business. We would practice our pitches. And I'm so grateful for them because I actually created this amazing friendships. And I'm seeing some of them do amazingly well and some of them have pivoted. But to have that support system mentally is huge.
It certainly is. And Angela, I saw your comment about, this is what you really wanted to hear right now. And I agree. I co-host a monthly pitch event here in Boston. We're not so monthly anymore, but we were for quite a while. And I saw a founder who was a newly minted founder, only been into her business for a year or so. And we always had investors as our experts and judges asking questions. And they asked some tough questions. And she said, I have no idea, but I'm going to find the answer and I'm going to go explore that. And I'm going to get back to you. And oh my God, you would have thought everybody got a round of shots or something. They were like, oh my God, that's the best answer.
Exactly. I think one of the things, I'm not throwing guys under the bus, but I think there's a level of humility that you need to come to the table with, both from an investor and both from the founder. And I think saying you don't know something, but you'll get back to them is huge, because we don't know everything. We as investors don't know everything, and we come across like we do, but we don't. But I think asking the right questions, and you even saying, I'm not sure, but let me get back to you, and following through with that. Yeah. I think that's important. And so I also think.
Yeah, let's ask Angela. Angela, do you have a specific time when you were asked a question, you were like, I have no, because you don't want to fudge it, right? You don't want to go and make something up and, don't worry about that, I got it covered, that kind of thing, right? I'm talking to you now, Renata.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Angela. Yeah. So I think the other thing I will say, if you're going through your pitch, you're doing an online pitch, a Zoom pitch, or a physical. I think if someone's like, well, you don't have a financial model. I know you're pre-seed and don't have any revenue, but what would be your assumptions? Like I always ask, like, what are your assumptions? What do you think you're going to do in sales? Can you show me that? And if it's not there, so, I really would love to get back to you. Like I have some idea of where we're going to do. Would you mind having another 30-minute call? And let me get those numbers to you. So like, again, it's not saying, I don't know, just be like, you know what? I haven't worked on that, but can I put those numbers together for you? Or if I ask, like, what's your go-to-market strategy? How are you going to acquire customers? Have you thought about that? I mean, these are some questions. Again, usually you get those questions if you join an incubator or an accelerator. They'll help you, guide you, so you'll be prepared. But there's nothing wrong with saying, like, would you mind if I got back to you via email for another call?
Absolutely. And as we learned earlier this week from the phenomenal Donna Griffith, who is a storyteller. So she's a pitch alchemist that helps you take and weave that story through. She's mentioned that a lot of founders have a hard time with the persuasive storytelling when what's going to happen is so far in the distance and not about today.
Yes. I think the other thing is, your audience. So there's actually, I was a CMO of a telemed startup in the beauty category in 2019. And we were in the finals of the New Venture Challenge, which is a top pitch competition at the University of Chicago. And I was the CMO. And so I remember we were discussing how to tailor the story, because we only had, I think, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And it was a room full of male venture capitalists. So it's a beauty business targeted to women my age. And so how do we position the story to a bunch of men that are baby boomers? You know how we did it, how I did it? I knew some of the men in there. I'm like, no. They're asking all these questions like, I would never spend $150 for a tiny little bottle of face cream. I'm like, Troy, have you talked to your wife? Do you know how much she spends? Have you looked in her medicine cabinet and how many jars of $150 bottles of skin cream does she have? I mean, you got to position it like it's their wife. So you got to say, like, this is what your wife spends on product for her hair. I mean, for her hair, for her beauty, whatever. And you show in a PowerPoint, here's a typical woman's drawer. And here's the price, here's the brand name and the price. Oh my God, she spends $300 a month on products or whatever it is. So it's like, you have to know your audience before.
And then you show them the margins and they're like, what?
Yes. You show them the margins, and you show them that like 70% of the margin's coming from the bottle, like not the actual content.
That's right. I got to tell you, it's so good. Okay. So Allison, who I was glowing on earlier about Scroobius, she has the link up here, scroobius.com. We're all about helping founders create an investor-ready pitch and build community in an affordable and approachable way, folks. When I say affordable, really, it's very affordable. And she has that community so that you can all go and kvetch and talk about all your disasters and as well as your wins with each other, because who else is going to understand this process? And then I really like what Marie Meslin was talking about here, which is she's going to add, it's really important to be thoughtful about connecting with investors and finding the right people. Pitch burnout is definitely real.
Conversation.
Sidebar, right? I'd advocate for less pitching and more conversations. Oh, you're singing Renata's song.
Yeah, no, it's great. And I think, yeah, pitch, and I guess pitching is such, again, it's like that word networking. It's
Yep.
relationship building. It's not pitching. It's what's your story? Like, and you have to have different stories. Like, how are you telling the story? And the other thing I say to founders is, why are you the right founder? How does this relate to you personally?
That's right. And there's always this question of founder product and founder market fit. I have never had any of that. It is what is the problem that you feel so compelled to solve, so that if you don't have a background in beauty products or in Internet of Things or whatever, you can still say, but, and point to the story of how you are fierce about solving that problem and examples of it. When we had Abraham Ventura on with his pitch gauge product, well, he didn't have any experience with measuring roofs, but he's got a whole history of problems that he has solved and figured out. So, that has to help. And, I just want to do a quick celebration of the Capital Network right now for those who are watching or listening on the podcast. This is 100% community, is exactly why we created the Fellowship for Female Founders, to help them own their raise. And it's thecapitalnetwork.org/fellowship-for-female founders. This is a wonderful organization. They've been around for 20 years, serving us women and helping people understand things like cap tables and all the different ways of funding that can come in, and really upping your founder game. So love you, Marie.
Awesome.
Anyway, so now you gave that beautiful example of connecting, the woman who did that great opening to connect with you. And what are some final tips that would really help a founder get over their fear of connecting with investors, especially when they're feeling the pressure on their back of getting money in?
Yeah, I think one of the things that can help a lot is, I always say this to first-time founders, is make sure you invest time in an advisory board. When I say that, is people in your network that believe in you and that have expertise, or a network that can make introductions for you. So let's say you're in I'm going to use the beauty idea, and somebody had worked at L'Oreal or in your network, or someone they know someone who worked at L'Oreal. Ask to start developing a nice advisory board. That advisory board can not only help you with early customer acquisition and getting customers, or to try your product, but feedback. But more importantly, they can make introductions to strategic investors that maybe believe in you, from like J&J or from a beauty brand or whatever, that maybe would sit on your advisory board or be potential investors. So try to use your network. I'm a big networker, to be able to create a robust advisory board that can take less pressure off you just randomly cold calling, and you can use your network to actually get more warm introductions.
That's right. And Angela, that's a great question. Should we give equity to an advisor?
So this is what I do, because now I'm an investor, right? So this is what I do, and this is kind of what you guys should do from the founder side. If you're a founder and you find someone that would be an amazing advisor, and they worked at L'Oreal years ago, whatever, and they're in the beauty, I would suggest this. This is what I do as the investor. I say to the founder, this is supposed to be a relationship, okay? It's like a marriage. Would you be willing, if I'm willing to give 1 hour a week for the next 3 months, we could get to know each other. You can see kind of what value add I bring to the table. I'm willing to put the time in for free without any equity. If we feel like it's a great fit, maybe I would write a check, small check, or maybe you would give me equity to sit on your board formally. I just met with a founder. If you talk to a lawyer, there's equity shares allocated for advisory roles. I can't remember what the amount is, but check with the lawyer, a VC lawyer. It's a different type. It's like preferred stock that can be vested over time. So you're not going to give them so much. Maybe you give them, I think it's 1 to 3% typically for an advisory role. Tiny. So you would and they would vest it over time. So you're not going to give away the 1% right away, maybe over 2 years, depending on your relationship. And they earn it as they provide the connections, as they provide the advisory. Right. So I do believe, but you should start off with, it's like dating. Just see if you like them and you like each other.
And I love that 90, because, when you hire someone, you want that 90-day period, especially as a startup founder. I love that advice for your advisors. That's so wonderful. In the meetup group, I had a gentleman who couldn't be here today, but he said, could you ask Renata this question?
Oh.
How can we raise money when at the same time our product hasn't been FDA cleared yet? It's going to happen, because you've got that,
yeah,
for the chicken challenge.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. I actually worked with a startup that had that kind of female
And he's
product.
a life sciences founder.
Yeah, this was a medical product for two women who were launching it, and they did not have FDA approval. They actually, this is smart, they went to another market, not the US, and they were able to test the product on a like target audience, but not in this country. So they were smart, and they were able to test it and get some level of feedback and traction on their product, where they were able to go to investors in the US and say, hey, we know we've got this timeline of FDA approval. This is where we're at. They showed a timeline on their deck of where they're at with the approval. But at the same time, while we're looking for this approval, we have the prototype, we're testing it, and this is the feedback we've gotten from these.
Oh my gosh, Renata, that is brilliant advice.
Brilliant.
Yay. Thank you so much for that. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, because I could sit here all day and just pull gems out of that beautiful brain of yours forever. Please, as we wrap up, please share with everyone how entrepreneurship has served you both personally and professionally on this journey.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun. What you're doing is amazing. I really appreciate it. And I welcome everyone to check out my website is renatamerino.com, just to get a little bit of background of my background and kind of my mission in life is to support women and women empowerment, and especially female founders. Just follow me on social media.
And I'll have all the links in the show notes. But you've been on this journey. You went from a nice corporate brand, protected, lots of assets that you could pull on and resources at any time. But then you had to figure things out on your own. So who you are today, how has this journey served you? How has it made you better as a human being as well as professionally?
That's so great. I mean, I think I've been through a lot of life challenges as a single mom and as a entrepreneur, and now as on the investment side. I think it's about resilience. I think it's really following being your authentic self, and following your true north. I call it true north, your mission, and really trust your intuition versus your head. Go with your heart or your intuition. And everyone, I was raised like, what's the right job? I should get the cookie cutter job with the big, $300,000 salary and like whatever, and it's safe, and that's what your parents did. That's what you should do. But if it's not you're not going to be happy, and it's going to impact your personal life. So it's hard, especially if you're a founder. But again, if you want it that badly, you will find a way to make it happen. And I think that's the last piece of advice I would say is go with your intuition, go with your gut, because it's going to impact your personal life as well.
Absolutely. I love that so much. Thank you very much for that. As Angela says, listen to the whispers in life.
Yes.
Folks, you never fail when you launch a business. You can go back to work, be on payroll before you know it. It's, you will learn so much about yourself, and there's never any preparation for it, right, Renata? You just have to get out there, like parenting. You have to get out there and just
You're winging it. You're winging it. You're like, I hope I'm making the right choice. But I think this, my daughter doesn't want to play soccer anymore. I'm like, all right, what do you want to do? Nothing. I'm like, well, we've got to do something.
You gave us so much incredible advice and insights today, not only just with your phenomenal story, the remarkable work that you went through to build who you are and how you empower women every day, everywhere you go, but also to really help us understand how to be better founders when we're raising the funding, and then be prepared for how investors are thinking and how to respond. And honesty and authenticity and just saying, I don't know, is okay, folks. All right. And being able to get back to them. But I think the best thing too that you said was just to start 12 months out in building that relationship and getting them to know you is going to help and help you find the aligned investors who celebrate you. Okay.
And I will say, if somebody always says no, this is really important. because it's hard to hear a no. If someone says no, just say, I appreciate your time. If there's someone else in your network that you think might align with what we're doing, I would love and appreciate any kind of referrals or recommendation.
Boom. Okay. Boom. That's it. Drop the mic. We're done.
So always try to take a no into another path to a new person.
Absolutely. A no is just another way to go find yes. I love that. Renata, thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to pop you into the green room and wrap this show up, but hang around so I can give you a big virtual hug. Okay,
great.
Okay, guys, I'm going to be definitely creating a ton of video snippets from the brilliant advice and the gems that our guest, Renata Merino, shared with us today. All the links will be in the show notes, so hop on there, whether you're listening in the podcast or watching a replay in the video. If you're looking for the show note links, go to the YouTube channel for those. And I am so thrilled that you tuned in to Up Your Founder Game, because as I said earlier, when you do better, your business will do better. And I also deeply appreciate the courage that it takes to build a business and launch a business. And speaking of that, wait to see who's going to be on Tuesday, October 26th on the Startup Life Live show. This is Sharish Nadkarni. And I got to tell you, this is a serial entrepreneur who came to the U.S. as a teenager with $25 in his pocket and got himself some great education. And after graduating from Harvard Business School, he worked at Microsoft, where he engineered the $400 million acquisition of Hotmail, and he launched MSN.com. Okay. But I think he was lured by the startup.com world, and he started launching businesses in 1999 and has created this book, From Startup to Exit, an insider's guide to launching and scaling your tech business. He is such a wonderful human. And honestly, this is his book right here, and we'll be talking about it. It really is like step one, step two. There's no fluff. Okay. There's no personal. Yeah. It's really right to the point. Here's what you need to do if you're scaling a tech business. So I'm so excited to introduce you to him. Then how do you tune in to the Startup Life Live show when we post a new show? Boom. You join the meetup group, scan the QR code, or go to bit.ly/Startup Life Live and become a member. That way you'll get an alert whenever I post a new show. So grateful you tuned in. I honor your journey and everything that you're going through. And I'm just telling you right now, remember this right here. It's a good A.A. Milne, Winnie the Pooh quote. And moms, you know this as well. You're braver than you believe. You're stronger than you seem. And as we would say here in Boston, you're wicked smarter than you think. Woo! That's it for us today. I wish you a delicious day wherever you glow. Mwah. Take care.